Most screenwriters are sabotaging progress on their scripts by making these 6 common mistakes, and they don't even know it. But once you become aware of these issues, you'll find writing easier than ever, because right now they're stalling your creative process and stopping you from finishing your screenplay. But by the end of this video, you'll notice simple adjustments you need to make to complete your screenplay faster than you ever have before. This first mistake might sound counterintuitive, and you probably won't want to fix it at first. If you keep making this mistake, it will stop you in your tracks every single time. When I start working on a script, I have a pretty clear idea of where I want the story to go. You know, the inciting incident, the midpoint, maybe even the climax. I don't even do it on purpose. I've studied plot structure so much that I get ideas for all this before I even start writing. But this has become a problem for me because I'll be writing and suddenly my character will do something that makes me think like, oh no, but what if I make him do this now? And then the climax I plan out for him doesn't work out anymore. So I change their actions to fit the plot I already planned. This made me realize I'm not making the characters do anything. They're making their decisions all on their own. So what's the problem with trying to plan this out? When I do that, I'm forcing the characters. I'm not letting them evolve naturally. And what I keep reminding myself of is this. If you have an amazing plot idea, but it doesn't feel true to who your character is, it'll ruin everything. You're better off with a dull midpoint that's true to the character than an amazing one that feels forced. A great story, it doesn't come from perfect plot structure, right? It comes from authentic characters. So how do you avoid forcing plot onto your characters? It comes down to this writing advice that I almost live by from Stephen King.
I feel like you have to follow the characters and you have to follow the story where it leads. And the last thing that I want to do is to spoil a book with plot.
So how do you write like this yourself? It's so easy to worry about what's on page 90 while you're still only on page 5. But instead, you should let them grow and make decisions as they would. You'll be surprised at how different your characters will be when page 90 actually comes and how naturally your story will just unfold. So next time you're stuck, focus on the scene right in front of you. Let your characters drive the story, and you'll find yourself finishing your screenplay with ease. Now, this is a mistake that I actually still make when I write, and it's the biggest thing that I'm trying to work on right now. And honestly, one of the reasons I'm including it in this video is it's as much a reminder to myself as it is to you guys. If you can let go of this one thing, writing your screenplay becomes so much easier. So what is this mistake? The movie Finding Forrester is all about this mistake. The main character, Jamal, is obsessed with becoming a successful writer, but he's too embarrassed to let anyone know that he's a writer. Forrester immediately notices his need for validation and teaches him that true success in writing doesn't come from external approval. It actually comes from this.
I'm just thinking.
No, no thinking. That comes later. You write your first draft with your heart, and you rewrite with your head.
Once Jamal learns to write for himself, his writing improves because he's no longer tied to what anyone else thinks. If you can detach from the outcome, you'll be surprised at how much more enjoyable and authentic the process becomes. So how do you do this yourself? Try this exercise. Set a timer for like 10 to 15 minutes and write without ever pausing to judge. Don't let yourself stop, not even once.
Sometimes a simple rhythm of typing gets us from page 1 to page 2.
You'll see that as soon as you stop worrying about how it's going to be received later, your creativity can really take off. But why would you stop trying to impress people? I mean, isn't the whole point of writing a screenplay to make sure that other people like it? Well, that actually brings me to the next mistake you're probably making. And once you understand it, your entire approach to writing will completely change. Take Eminem's breakout song, My Name Is. This was a song that divided people more than the United States during the Civil War, right? Because some people loved it for its humor and its edginess, but other people just found it downright offensive. There were no middle ground reactions. Everyone felt something strong. They either loved it so much that they listened to it over and over, or they hated it so much that they kept listening to it just because they liked being angry at him.
I don't give a damn. Dre sent me to take the world off.
This polarization is exactly what makes the song so unforgettable. But what about this song made it so polarizing? When he wrote it, he didn't hold back. He put his entire personality, his frustrations, and his controversial thoughts front and center. He didn't make the song to impress anyone. It was just true to who he was. He wasn't worried that people would disagree with him or that they wouldn't like him. This only happens when you're honest in your writing. And this isn't about stirring up controversy just for the sake of it. It's about expressing your truth, even if it means dividing people. So how do you channel this level of authenticity in your own writing? Here's an exercise I read in Rick Rubin's The Creative Act. The idea here is to channel your most raw, polarizing thoughts and emotions. So take 5 minutes to beat a pillow. Yeah, you heard me. Immediately after you do this, grab a notebook and fill like 5 pages with whatever thoughts come up. And again, don't worry about coherence or structure or content. Just let everything spill out of you onto the pages. This way, you train yourself to tap into your most honest, raw feelings, which is exactly where impactful writing comes from. By now, you understand the importance of being honest with your writing and writing one step at a time. But if you don't fix this next mistake, it's gonna be very difficult to finish your screenplay. It's kind of like you're trying to get a girlfriend. You know, you're open to meeting new girls, but there's a catch. You'll only date girls that are over 5'5". So every time a girl under 5'5" comes along, you can't even talk to her, let alone date her. Now, you significantly reduce the amount of girls that you can potentially meet. Like, significantly. Like, seriously, do you know how many girls are taller than 5'5"? Not most of them. You're also missing out on an amazing connection you might have. But if you ditch this rule, suddenly you're open to all sorts of possibilities. Who knows? Maybe you'll meet someone totally unexpected who's actually perfect for you. This is exactly what happens when you impose strict rules on your screenplay. Whether it's following a particular plot structure or sticking rigidly to one genre, if you're too strict, you'll never discover the stories that might have emerged if you just loosened up a bit. So what's the real solution here? If you're someone who always starts with a detailed outline, try writing by the seat of your pants. And if you typically develop intricate backstories, try letting the characters reveal themselves as the story unfolds. Evaluate your current writing habits, then do the complete opposite. Breaking your own rules opens you up to new creative paths. I mean, after all, rules are just guidelines made by other people. So don't be afraid to rewrite some of them. If you want my direct help on finishing your screenplay, click this link below. I want to show you another mistake that pretty much guarantees you'll just keep procrastinating on your screenplay. And it's a mistake I was making for years, and when I stopped, it completely changed my approach to writing. One day, I was lying in bed debating whether or not I should work on my screenplay. I kept thinking like, I don't feel like it right now, or maybe I'll just wait until the time feels right. But days went by, and that feeling never came. Weeks passed and I still didn't even touch the screenplay. It was like I was stuck waiting for something that was just never gonna happen. So eventually I got tired of waiting. I decided to just sit down and write something. Literally anything. I typed one word and then another. And before I knew it, I was completely in the zone, typing away at 100 words per minute. That rush of inspiration I was waiting for, it didn't show up until I actually started writing. So how do you make sure you don't make the same mistake? Here's the truth. You can't look at inspiration as this bolt of lightning that just randomly strikes when you least expect it. Like, sure, that can happen, but more often than not, it shows up once you actually sit down to do the work. The key is to push yourself through those first 15 minutes of writing, even when it feels like you're writing to a brick wall. I don't think that works here. That's how you unlock that flow state where ideas come naturally. The less inspired you feel, the more important it is that you write. So don't wait for inspiration. Create it. But what if no matter how hard you try, you just can't write? What if inspiration feels so far away that you can't even force yourself to type a single word? Well, that's actually the next mistake so many writers make. And if you can fix this, you'll stop waiting for inspiration and you'll be able to write no matter what. Imagine you wear glasses and one day you're running around in a muddy field for some reason and you drop them. When you pick them up, there's dirt all over them, and now it's hard to even see one step ahead of you, so you freeze. I mean, you have to. You don't know what's ahead, and you're terrified to find out without actually seeing. That's exactly what your negative thoughts are like when you're writing. Dirt on your glasses, blurring your vision. Thoughts like writing is difficult, or I'm not a good writer, they're going to stop you from finishing your screenplay, from even writing that next word down. And the more you avoid writing, the more these thoughts get reinforced and it becomes a cycle, no progress, more self-doubt and more avoidance. So How do you break this cycle? This is gonna sound a little weird, I'm not gonna lie, but there's this concept called papancha, which is basically the mental spiral of negative thoughts that pile up. You know, like that feeling where one small doubt turns into this avalanche of anxiety. Well, here's a trick that will take away power from these negative thoughts. The next time you're writing and a thought like, this idea is terrible, pops up, just call it what it is. Well, there's papancha again, you know, laugh it off and write anyway. Eventually, you'll get so used to writing through these negative thoughts that they won't stop you anymore. You'll just keep writing no matter what. What's so effective about using a silly sounding name like papancha, it removes the seriousness of your thoughts and it makes them a lot less intimidating. I wanted to save this mistake for last because it's what I think is the worst mistake that screenwriters make. It held me back for 2 whole years. I thought I was doing everything I needed to, but I realized I wasn't making any progress at all. But now that I've broken free from it, I am writing so much more often. If you wanted to learn how to play guitar, you'd probably go buy a course, the lesson book, and subscribe to a few YouTube channels. And you watch the videos, you read the books over and over, but your fingers never actually touch the fretboard. No matter how much time you spend consuming all this material, you're never gonna actually get any better at playing guitar. All the information just leaves you more confused about where to start. This is exactly what happens with screenwriting. You know, you think that your problem is that you need to be a better writer. You think you need to master plot, structure, dialogue, and character arcs before you can start writing your screenplay. In reality, you just need to start writing because you're not gonna get any better at these things if you don't practice them. Otherwise, you just get stuck in this endless cycle of consumption, feeling more overwhelmed and unsure where to start. So what should you be doing instead? Be very intentional about what you learn and apply it immediately. Like if you wanna get better at dialogue, watch videos or read books specifically on dialogue, then go work on the dialogue in your screenplay right after. You don't learn by just consuming, you learn by doing. So now that you know the key mistakes to avoid, you're probably excited to start writing a screenplay that's free from any of these pitfalls, right? But then you sit down ready to write and that blinking cursor, it might as well be mocking you. Like every little noise or distraction pulls you away from it. Does this sound familiar? Well, imagine you could just sit down and let the words flow without all this mental tug of war. In this next video, I share the productivity system that helped me finally break free from distractions and finish my screenplay with full focus. Check it out here so that you can start writing your screenplay with laser-like focus.